Those of a certain generation, you only really have to say Pretty Woman, Only the Lonely. And for my generation, you've got it. We're talking about an icon really that shaped music around the world, but really he wasn't a conventional pop star. Roy Orbison didn't look like a pop star, but boy, he sounded like one, and he really could play that guitar and had a sort of mesmerizing presence on stage. But what's the latest on that rock and roll icon? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London. Nice to have your company. Now this particular story, when you think about it, you look at theatre musicals, don't you? And you kind of think, why do some work and some don't? I remember a few years ago, going to see a Spice Girls musical in London. And the big mistake that they'd made on that, they were using the girls' back catalogue of hit songs, but they decided to shape a totally different story. People thought they were going to see and hear the story of the Spice Girls. Now you don't always need to have that same narrative, because when you look, say, at the story of Mamma Mia, which is the mega smash musical based on the hits of ABBA, it's nothing to do with ABBA. It's basically a story constructed about a Greek island and a wedding, but it works. So why does some work and some don't? And more in particular, will the big O now transcend onto the world stages? As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here in the very heart of London. Nice to have your company. This story, I do kind of think when they do, as I say, these stage musicals, some work, some don't. There was a brilliant one over here a couple of years back based on the hits of Michael Jackson, and it simply just had dancers and singers expertly putting across the mega hits of the late pop icon by, documenting it with a year sign on a big screen on the stage, so you were under no illusions about what you were getting. It was simply a brilliant night out. Now bosses apparently are deciding to do the same thing with a mega icon. Yes, none other than the brilliant Roy Orbison. Now Roy, of course, enjoyed a phenomenal career when you think about it, starting out way back in that infamous record label Sun Records alongside Sam Phillips, but he really created his own sound in the early 60s and went on to become a megastar. Now I only met Roy very briefly, and I mean really briefly, with a very swift hello, as he was part of the Travelling Wilburys, that super group with the Beatle George Harrison, the Electric Light Orchestra's Jeff Lynne. But I did get to meet someone who turned out to be a very good friend, who knew Roy Orbison, the Big O, incredibly well. Alan Clegg was the former general manager of the brilliant Batley Variety Club in West Yorkshire, and Roy was a regular at that club. And basically Alan said that, Roy was an incredibly shy man who only turned up at the stage door at the last minute when he was due on stage, and disappeared literally out of a side door simply because he was just too shy to meet the public. Not many people realise that the dark glasses and that persona were really to hide the fact that he was so stage shy. He literally suffered from stage fright, even at the very height of his success. But Alan went on to say that he was one of the biggest and best artists the Batley Variety Club had ever really booked, because he got everybody to their feet, everybody knew the songs, and he just had a magnetism on stage that you really could not explain. It was simply just there. Now there's going to be a musical, not based on Roy's life, but using his back catalogue of, as I say, of all those wonderful hits, like You've Got It, Pretty Woman, you name it, the songs. Every time you hear one of Roy's songs, you know instantly just who it is and what it's about, and it simply gets you to your feet. This musical be, though, the huge success it deserves to be, because while Roy's music lives on and everybody knows it, and it's still played on radio today, more importantly, it's about the narrative. And I think more people would like to see the Roy Orbison story, complete with all the mega hits, rather than a story not based on his life at all, but based on something totally different, simply using the hits. And as time has proven, does it always make for good box office? More importantly, would you go to see it without the Roy Orbison story attached? As ever, I'd love to know what you think to this particular story in the comments below. While you're at it, look Roy up on YouTube, because once you've heard one of his songs, it simply will be stuck in your head all day. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.